All righty, we are back once again, ladies and gentlemen. You're with Seminole Sideline 365. As always, my name is KB, and with me is Bruce, aka the old man who I have to unmute because I mute him during the intros because he tends to open his raisins or his prune juice, and it just makes horrible loud noises during it. But yes, you're back with us once again. So thank you for taking the time to stop by and being with us on this Wednesday night. On my side of the country, it's very cold out, so that's why I'm wearing everything I can to stay warm. But hopefully the show will be entertaining to you tonight as we get ready for the matchup against NC State on Saturday night as well. We'll be going through a little bit of a wrap-up of the Wake Forest game, as if you've missed it, we had a whole live reaction show right after that game last Saturday evening. Live reaction to that, so raw, uncut, just off the brain with that. So it's usually pretty enjoyable, especially after a loss, because it's probably more entertaining when there's criticism than when you're just praising everybody. But yeah, take a look at that if you haven't already. Give that a like. We appreciate that and your comments on that one. But tonight we'll doing a quick recap of the Wake Forest and news that's come out since that game, and then we'll be doing a preview of what's to come this week against number 14 NC State and the tough matchup that's going to give our Seminoles. And then we'll wrap up with any other news notes, and we'll do a little bit of a prediction for a couple of ACC matchups that are going on this weekend, because those impacts Florida State in general as we're going through the Atlantic and potentially vying for the Atlantic title if we win this weekend. So, how are you doing, Bruce? How are things at your end?
Yeah, well, I'm doing good. As you know, that Florida has had a major impact down here because of Hurricane Ian. And obviously that struggle is real life in reality and surmounts any game that we could ever play or talk about. So President of the United States, Joe Biden, was down here with Governor DeSantis working together, even though they're arch rivals politically. They're down here working together to try to support the state and all the people that remain homeless and all the people that are going to need a long-term support strategy. So with that in mind, we want to keep those people in our hearts and minds and our prayers and wish them all well, including but not excluding all the athletes, their families, and friends and relatives that might have been caught in this terrible, terrible hurricane, one of the worst in the state of Florida, especially on the Gulf Coast. So with that, we will proceed forward. But there are, and I know you will speak to one of the great charities there from a Florida State student athlete, mm-hmm. and about what he's trying to do with his NIL program.
Yeah, great that you bring it up, and it's a good segue into what you were just saying. Is that, as you all know, or you may have heard, with this team, Dylan Gibbons has basically used his NIL platform to use as a fundraiser for multiple kind of avenues, and that's where he's created the Big Man Big Heart Foundation, which is a charitable organization, which he uses in many different ways. But he recently started a GoFundMe as part of that. Where all the proceeds, and I'll go ahead and pull it up on the screen so you guys, if you haven't heard of it by now, you can get some information behind it. But he's leveraging his platform along with Jordan Travis and then a couple of other players who have families in Southwest Florida and all over Florida. They're leveraging their platforms to promote this. And I think it's a great cause because 100% of the funds that they raise for this are going directly to those impacted. And this isn't some kind of sketchy under the water or under the table kind of thing. This is something that Dylan Gibbons is putting his name behind, and he started this organization to help people in causes just like this. And so I think it's great that athletes are doing things like this. They're putting, using their brand for the greater good, and to help those affected by natural disasters just like this. So this is something that I personally donated to. I know, economic times are tough for a lot of people, so you give what you can. But I think this is one of those organizations I definitely felt I felt I could give my money to because I knew where it was going. Some people are doing fundraisers where you buy a t-shirt, they give $4 away. I think it's great that this one's giving 100% of donations away to people who need them right now. So we'll go ahead and leave we've tweeted this on our account. So if you need any more information, let us know, comment, we can share the link, but it's easy to find it. Just look up Dylan Gibbons on Twitter and you'll be able to find the Big Man, Big Heart Foundation and how you can give right away. So yeah, that's what I want to share about that.
Yeah, I think that's, one part of the Seminole theme and movement is about service to the community. And clearly what you spoke of, KB, there is that service through the athlete giving back to the people in need, and 100% support Big Man, Big Heart on the Hurricane Ian Relief Fund on the GoFundMe. As you say, because when these things happen, there are a lot of scams out there. There are some very good organizations you should give to, and then there's others that spring up. So you have to be very careful, and please check those out before you start donating your hard-earned funds. But hats off to everybody helping the people that are in need in the state of Florida. So with that.
Yeah. A couple of news and notes from the behind, looking back from the from the Wake Forest game. I think we covered a lot on our show on Saturday in terms of whether the things that could have went right went wrong. Of course, there's a lot of things, a lot of self-inflicted injuries, and there's a lot of things from that game that I think just need to be cleaned up. You have 9 or 10 penalties, a lot of the procedural penalties, holding, stuff like that, especially on the line, that just need to be fixed and cleaned up. And that's due to some people, backups playing, injuries, whatever. Those can be fixed. Some of the other things were, kind of injury related too, with Fabian Lovett missing in the middle of the line, you getting kind of gut punched and Wake Forest kind of calling their shot up the middle and be able to run all over you through the middle there. So I think that those are some things. You're waiting for some guys to come back. You had to clean up some of those costly penalties that were putting you in first and long situations that you weren't used to being in early part of the season. You were really good about in this early part of the season. But then also there was a couple of other things. You had a turnover, you had a potential turnover on the fumble that you recovered. So once again, sloppy playing, things that I think, and even Jordan Travis said it. He came out and said, I believe, in the press conference, that after they scored that first touchdown, they became unfocused. Now, I think some of that's probably just not wanting to blame maybe. Because I don't think the offensive line played that great at all that game, and they did not protect as well as they protected all season. So I think it was him trying to say, we lost focus. I lost focus after that first touchdown, and I didn't play as well as I could have. He had a decent game. I think some of those throws he could have hit, or he could have thrown better through the most part, but he had pretty good numbers towards the second half of the game, and I think he wasn't trying to throw certain players underneath the bus, which a good leader does. He does that behind closed doors, and try to motivate them and call out how they can improve. Doesn't call it out in the media. But I think a lot of things there's not much more to take away on my end from that. I think a lot of the things that happen are fixable, or it's just waiting around for guys to get healthy for the major part, especially on the defense. I think that defense, the only way to fix that defense right now, especially on the line, is you have to guys got to get healthy, because the guys behind them are just younger guys that don't have a lot of game experience. And you need the impact of a full-time Jared Verse to play. And it sounds like he is going to play this weekend, which is, great to actually hear that. And you're going to get Amari Gamer full-time, which is great to hear as well. But yeah, those are my thing. And it'll be great to hear. I didn't get the latest stats on Robert Scott, if he's going to be back on the offensive line, but that would be another big thing to help in the trenches as well on the offensive side. But what are your thoughts, Bruce?
Well, I agree with everything you've said there. I'm not going to recover those points. I think the penalties, there were 9 or 10 penalties. Yeah. I mean, that has to be cleaned up. We didn't experience that in the first 4 games. And this team cannot afford those types of errors. They had a critical fumble. Travis was under duress and he coughed the ball up, and then Wake Forest cashed in on that. So, that was a one-play drive, a possession we had. I think we had 10 possessions in the entire game.
Mhm.
I think it was called 10 and 10. Each team had 10 possessions,
Mhm.
and we didn't have good quality possessions following the first one. We scored some more points, but it just didn't look smooth. It didn't look efficient, and the penalties were a huge problem. And then you throw in a turnover, and we had no running game. And that's another question: is what happened to the running game? What happened to the three-headed monster dragon that we paraded out after the Duquesne game? Which basically, as we start to get into some statistics, which we will throw in here tonight in different places, it's important to understand that you can throw the Duquesne game out. I mean, those inflated the statistics offensively and defensively. So in my opinion, that was a winnable game, the Wake Forest at home for us. And that's going to be a tough win to make up going forward.
Yeah. And good points there. And like you said, there was definitely key plays in this game that could have turned, and you could have turned those plays around. You definitely have a better shot at winning this game. And it was, like you said, the fumble, Jordan Travis's fumble in deep in Florida State territory that turns into a touchdown for Wake Forest. You can't do that against high-powered offenses like Wake Forest. There's also, the third downs that you couldn't stop, the 3rd and 10s against Wake Forest deep in the second half that you let Wake Forest convert on, the gritty Vance non-interception when he gets Moss. Things like that. There's little plays that you go, 5, 6, 7 little plays here and there that could have turned that game around. That just allowed them to extend that game out. And to your point, possessions, but also time of possession, where Florida State, like in previous games, was not able to control the ball for that long. And they've had drives that just didn't go anywhere. They stalled out, weren't able to get points, a missed field goal, a fumble, things where the offense just stalled out for much of the second and third quarter, and then started to kind of get going a little bit towards the end of the third quarter and into the fourth quarter. But it was just kind of too late by that point. And Wake Forest was just able to, kill clock and run the ball down your defense's throat at that point. So
I think, and I was going to add at the end of this to wrap this up on Wake Forest is the good news. The positive news is Jordan Travis came out unscathed. He wasn't injured any worse that has been reported. I think you're going to see him run a little bit more, but he came out, no new injuries. We didn't have too many major injuries in the game. That's good news. And I think if we're looking for a positive spark, and some people have brought this up, it's there's no moral victories here, that even though we played pretty badly, we were still in the game till the end. Basically, we're kind of still in the game, and I don't really buy into that. I'm not signing up to that thing, but a lot of the fans were kind of talking about that. But there are what we call hard fans out there, and there are soft fans out there. The soft fans are always going to see the positives. The hard fans are always going to see the negatives. We try to bring both sides together, and we're going to tell it like it is. Now, we are no sugar. We're raw and unfiltered. So we're going to tell it the way we see it through our eyes and through what we're seeing in our analysis. But that's what some was coming out of that from the fan base in that regard. And so we kind of moved right into a week of practice, right? We kind of moved into a week of practice. And I don't know if you have the tape on Coach Norvell. I think it was after Monday's or Wednesday's practice.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
Okay, I'll move forward with the practice or what I heard, and this is some of the notes coming out of the practices on Monday. There's nothing significant that comes out of these pressers. I'm just gonna put it out there. In fact, some of it's kind of boring, and I'm sure some of you out there, when you look at these, you're out of them. You get out of them pretty quickly because the language doesn't really change a lot. It's what I call the coaching 101 language that you hear a lot. And that is, 1, designed not to give anything away. 2, not to act too directly. And Coach Norvell does a great job from a politician standpoint. And that is, he doesn't berate anybody, which a good leader is not going to do that out in public. He doesn't berate anybody. He does comment very positively on most things about the team and the effort and what went on. And maybe you have the clip here.
Yeah, let's play a quick portion of this.
Okay.
Them play, scheme is one thing. They play with great effort, great physicality, very well coached. They're very talented. I mean, these guys can run, they can hit. It's going to be a great challenge for us, and we're excited for the opportunity to go and compete. But it's trying to clear up a lot of the the different presentations and the multiplicity of coverage and things that they do. You watch them play.
So that's good. That's good. I mean, that alone. I mean, Coach Norvell is protecting his team. He does a great job of that, but it doesn't tell us anything as a fan. Okay, I think that's fair. I think it's fair to say he really does. He's talking about multiplicities and complexicities and stuff like that. That gets kind of boring. You could take that clip after every game and pretty much plug it in, plug it into a sermon and just run it for the rest of the season. And that's not a hit on Coach Norvell. I get it. Okay. And the fans out there who have been, throwing some stuff back and forth this week on Twitter, which is always good, is I get it. I get it. Okay. Come on. I've been around this game a long time, so I do get it. But for the week, there wasn't anything significant. On Monday, he talked about he appreciated the effort of the team in the second half. He talked about quality of possessions just weren't there in the Wake Forest game. Too many penalties. He felt in practice, though, coming out on Monday, there was a good sense of urgency. And he keeps, his focus is we must focus on the small details. We must get better. And we're still a growing team.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's all generalities that he said after most of the games. Okay. And he did admit, he goes, as a coach, there's things I need to do better, where he's taking responsibility. Most coaches will take responsibility after a loss. Yeah. They'll say they need to do better. They need to coach better. They need to put people in better situations. It's really a lot of generalities. Not a lot came out of there, except at the end on Monday. There was a question asked, which I was glad to see. And everybody knows who's been watching us or follows us, I've been harping on this kicking thing. And where did the media go? Okay, so finally, I think the media is catching up to where I am and where we are on this program. And so it was asked about the kicking game, but it was soft-toed into the thing. But he said, Ryan is our kicker. I have confidence in Ryan. I've seen him execute. Now, I don't know if he's talking about executed practice. I assume he is, but we haven't seen the execution in the game situation. But he said, Ryan, like everyone else on this team, this is the first time I've heard this, is being evaluated. Every player will be evaluated and on their performance. That's kind of new. New. Yeah. But let's face it, at some point, the kicker is going to come into play, and he's going to be a major role in one of these games coming up. So that was kind of the big news coming out of Monday. Wednesday was basically the coaching 101 language. They worked a lot on third down situations. No one asked did you mean third down offense or third down defense? I didn't really hear that clarification. All right. And I looked at it a couple of times. But you know what? They need to work on both of them. Okay. Yeah. They need to work on third down defense because their defensive efficiency, and I don't know if I have I think I do, the third down efficiency for Florida State is like 0.379% of holding on to third down. They're like 25 out of 66 third downs. So they really have not gotten off the field very well on third down. So that was something they were taking a look at. They talked about Amari Gaynor getting back. They didn't say he'd be fully back, but they said he'd be back for a lot of ready play. And Gerald Verse is going to play a lot more, too. I think they have them kind of on a rep count still, to be honest.
Well, yeah, Verse only played, I think, like 25 snaps.
25 snaps.
Which is the lowest, but he had the biggest impact of any of the defensive line.
Well, you really need him in there to pressure the quarterback, on passing downs. That's what I want him in there.
He's the sack leader on the team, and he didn't play against Boston College and was out half a game. Like, he's only played three and a half games,
Yeah.
and he's sack leader, and in tackles for loss, both for sacks and tackles for loss. So you really need him on the. He's an impact player. You have you're totally a different line without him on the field.
Yeah, the only other thing came up on Wednesday was that he harped on the run offense was not very good.
Well, that was the weird thing I brought up too, is that looking at snap counts, and sites like Noles Game Day have a great article of snap counts per player. And looking at and I brought this up though. I brought this up Saturday. I was like, did Trey Benson ever see the field, like other than kick returns? And looking at the numbers,
he had like two attempts, right?
He only had, but being on the field at all, just snap count wise, he was only on the field for 13 offensive snaps compared to Trayshawn, who had 32 snaps, and Toafili, who had 25. So he was on the field almost less than a third of the time as Trayshawn, or a third of the total. I think so Florida State only had 69 offensive snaps in total. So he was only there basically for a sixth of the offensive snaps, and he only had 4 carries. So it was, I don't know. It was weird the way that he was third in getting carries. And if you're going to run the ball in between the tackles like they're trying to do, I don't know why you wouldn't try to do it more with Benson versus Toafili. I'm not understanding that discrepancy there. I understand Trey.
Well, that's a good question.
But
it
also
really is, KB. It's a great question.
And there may be concerns about, can Trey catch the ball as well as Toafili? And I know he's probably not as quick initial burst, but I think his hands aren't as bad as Lawrence's is. Maybe not as experienced in terms of catching the ball, but I feel like Trey this year has made a couple of good catches in the open field, and I just think he's probably a better between the tackles runner, just because he's going to fall forward and he's just so much stronger, and he does have that top end speed. So I don't know why that question wouldn't have been brought up. Like, is Benson nursing an injury? Maybe he's on a snap count too, because he is coming off of previous injuries and they don't want to get him banged up early in the season. But I just thought it was bizarre that he almost had a sixth of the offensive snaps and a third or half of what Lawrence Toafili was on the field for. So I didn't
in the questions from the pressers, I didn't hear any questions that even addressed anything about Benson at all.
Yeah.
So I think it's a relevant question. It's maybe a question that, as we say, we have our segment Ask the Coach that may come out soon on our Twitter account that addresses that, because that is what I'm talking about with our beat reporters, is asking good questions, like that. That's a professional question. It's not an attacking question. It's asking what you just laid out, because Benson, without a doubt, is better and more powerful between the tackles in the line. He may not be as fast to get to the outside. His hands, I don't know about his hands that much. His hands may not be as good, but it's like a Ja'Kai Douglas. I don't hear anything about Ja'Kai Douglas. I think
he's still hurt. He's still hurt.
I think he's out for the season. I mean,
but we don't know. We don't know.
Well, it's not even addressed. Nobody even asked about it.
But that's you hear on Twitter, wait till Ja'Kai comes back. But to your point, we don't know. He could be out for the year, but they haven't said anything.
Nobody says that's her policy. That's her policy. So I think you bring up a legitimate point. But it's going to be very interesting as we now start to roll into the NC State game here. Now, this NC State team, they're a good football team.
Yeah,
they're a really good football team. They've got a very experienced coach. This guy's been around, Dave Duran. He's been around. He's coached against Florida State before. He's coached obviously against Mike Norvell. It's going to be interesting because we must get the running game going, but they have a very talented defense. They have a very talented defense there, and they're ranked second in the ACC on defense, and they're only giving up 15 points per game.
Yeah.
But
at the same time, outside of Clemson, they really have had a pretty soft schedule up until Clemson last week.
Okay, they beat East Carolina, by 1 point. They barely got by that game. They beat Charleston Southern. Let's scratch that off. That's like our Duquesne game. Let's slash that off. Texas Tech. Texas Tech is a decent team. They're a team that is better than the first two that they played.
They're like
UConn
ACC,
is really not a challenge for them.
No.
But Clemson, they played a pretty damn good game with. They had a pretty good game with Clemson. So maybe their defensive points of 15 a game, giving up 15 points, maybe that's a little bit not right. All right. But I think
controlled that game off. Offensively, I think defensively, Clemson controlled.
I think what I'm saying, KB, is we thought Wake Forest, we could run the ball all over them. We thought they came in not very strong on the defensive line, and they really made us look bad. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that's going to play out against NC State, especially in their home stadium at Carter Finley there, and they're going to have 57,000 people probably in the stands.
Yeah, I don't think that's. I don't think, like you said, it's a tough road environment. I don't think NC State, except for last week, has truly been tested, and they failed the test. On the road. But now, like you said, they're at home. They have, once again, another veteran quarterback that you're going against in Devin Leary, who's faced Florida State. He knows what they're all about. I do think they're playing an improved Florida State team this time around, but that doesn't really mean anything. Wake Forest played an improved Florida State team this time around, and they still beat us on the road. To that point, I do think that Clemson did show some things against NC State that Florida State can try to replicate. Clemson was able to totally take NC State out of the running game, and it forced Devin Leary to have to pass the ball. I think NC State only had 42 rushing yards, on the ground that game, which is, if you can force Devin to NC State just to be a passing offense and totally have to focus on that, then you make them one-dimensional. And Devin Leary, was supposed to be one of these ACC potential QB, quarterbacks of the year and be heralded and stuff like that. And he hasn't been as hot as people expect him to be thus far through the season, but he has potential because he's been in the system for a while. And so that's the thing. You'd rather him be one-dimensional. You'd rather shut down the run game and make him force in the pass, because then you've kind of dictated the game plan, right? And then you can have your defensive backs play different ways. You can throw pressure at him and force the pocket, because he's, once again, not a guy that's going to break your leg, break down and run for 25, 30 yards. But as Sam Hartman showed last week, you also have to get to the quarterback. You can't run by the guy, or a guy like Sam Hartman or even Devin Leary. They still have enough mobility where they can get a first down if nobody's in the zone at all. So it's really going to be important that we not only collapse the pocket, but we actually get the quarterback to the ground. That's something we struggle with when Jared Verse is not in the game. We sort of can move the pocket, but we can't quite get the quarterback on the ground. I think it's going to be so important against a quarterback of this caliber who has the capabilities to make the good throw, just like Sam Hartman was. Maybe I'm not on the same level, but we know he has the quality to make the big throw, make the tough throw, and to spread the ball around in a more conventional offense. It's not going to be as cutesy as the Wake Forest mesh offense is, right? But you have to be able to collapse that pocket and actually get to the quarterback and take him down to make him feel it. You can't just you can't let him escape it and roll out and throw another 10-yard 10 yards for the first down. You have to get to the quarterback. And so I expect to see more blitzing this time around, just because you don't have to play around what's this mesh concept going to do, and are they going to do something special around you. I do expect to see more blitzing like we saw in previous weeks against BC and against LSU, to try to bring more pressure home and send guys like Deloach or maybe even Kevin Knowles and maybe a Shaheem Brown like we saw early in the Wake Forest game, get to the quarterback, send those speed guys from the secondary and plant them on the quarterback, because we have to get the quarterback on the ground. We have to make him feel it so he doesn't have three seconds to pass the ball like we saw last week.
Well, on NC State's offense, as you said, their rushing game it's nothing to be fearful of. They're ranked like 95th after last week's games in overall FBS, and that 95th, that's not very good. I mean, they're averaging about 132 yards, and they've had some real cupcakes in their schedule. So that's, they should have had even bigger yards against those teams. But third down conversions, they're ranked now number 39, which means they are getting first downs. Okay. They're able to get first down. So that's going to be an interesting matchup with our third down defensive efficiency not really good. Okay. And our third down when we're on defense, we're only holding the other team at 37%, 38%. Okay. So that's going to be an interesting matchup of their offense against our defense in that regard. Their passing is not in the top 50. They're ranked 58th. He's got 12 touchdowns, and they're averaging about 252 in the yards, 252 yards per game. That's good enough to win football games. Okay, this team's 4-1. I mean, so that's good enough. If you're averaging 132 yards on the ground and 252 yards, and you're playing without a lot of penalties, you're not turning the ball over a lot, you can win football games.
Yeah.
All right. And against Florida State is in a position, this team right now in its climb is in a position it cannot make any crucial mistakes. Like the greedy Vance could have picked off the pass and really turned that game, or given the ball back to the offense to make a play. Yeah. We can't miss a play like that. We can't have 9 or 10 penalties, or it's really going to be a problem against a team like NC State, especially when you're on the road. So that's going to be very, very interesting. They're averaging 32 points a game.
But Florida State, I mean, I take that out because I think both teams are going to be able to do some scoring, because Florida State's on that end scoring 34 points per game. So it's, stats are stats like that. Both teams have the potential to score points. That's no doubt. I think really what this game, the key metric to watch is who can rush the ball. Can Florida State establish the running game like they seem to not be able to do last week? Florida State, I think, came out with 120 rushing yards, something like that, which isn't terrible, but you couldn't get the yards when it really mattered. You couldn't consistently hand the ball off and get a clear running lane and get 5, 10 yards, break off those big chunk plays and keep the ball, keep the possession, get the first down like you had been in the previous games. So that's the biggest thing, because NC State is third in the ACC in rushing defense. They're only giving up 94 yards per game. Florida State's averaging over 200 yards per game. So something's got to give here, right? Something's going to break here. Either Florida State is going to be able to establish a run and run all over these guys, or NC State's going to buckle up and they're going to say, nope, you're not going to be the one against us. We're going to force you to pass like Wake Forest did. And I think that's going to spell trouble for Florida State. Because if we cannot, because like I said on Saturday in the instant reaction, our run defense looked so bad last week that I was so afraid every time we handed it off because Ward I felt like he had to juke a guy behind the line of scrimmage before he could even get forward. And he still averaged a pretty good clip. But that's why the rushing yardage was so low, is because either we were his 1st and 20, or he was getting tackled, getting hit in the backfield and trying to break it for 3 or 4 yards. And it was just difficult. So if we don't get Robert Scott back for this game, or if we don't make an offensive adjustment to the playbook that allows us to either run more to the outside versus trying to run between the tackles, which we did not do last week, I'm very concerned that this pretty good to decent defensive line for NC State is going to give it to our line, and they're going to totally shut down the run game, which is how we've been winning games, establishing the run, which sets up the pass, sets up the matchups down the field so we can keep balance. Last week, we could not get any balance going, and look what happened. We had our lowest kind of really scoring output of the season, and we need that balance for this team to be great. That's what we really need.
Obviously, as you said, the being able to have an effective rushing game, makes the defense put another guy in the box or creep up, so you can get someone behind him, so we must be able to get some rushing game going this week. If not, the schedule is going to get much more difficult for us moving forward, because then teams start to see our offensive line is not performing up to a standard. Okay. To create this, it's amazing to me that we still have averaging over 200 yards rushing, and we're ranked 25th in stats, after the 5.
I think it's that surprising.
200 yards is a lot.
I know, but when you average it out, how many? Look, we ran.
Well, we got a lot of big yardage on the Duquesne game, and but then it's dropped off some, right?
Yeah,
It's dropped off in the
Yeah.
last couple of weeks. So I think we've talked about that is going to be a matchup. Their defensive line against our offensive line, as they always say in football, it's in the trenches. And you're right. To date, we have not pressured the quarterback very much, except for Jared Verse. So,
or if it's coming from the secondary, that's the only time that it's outside of Jared Verse that we seem to get pressure.
And I don't think Adam Fuller likes to be aggressive and send a lot of people. Okay,
I would disagree with that.
I think he's more conservative. And people, from the fan perspective, and that's how we bring our show. From the fan perspective, the jury is still out on Adam. Okay, there are a number of people that aren't Adam Fuller supporters. I'm impartial at this point as we go through the next few games to see. But I think our defensive line up front has not been as solid as we'd like, and that's based on the third down percentage. That's a big percentage. If you don't look at anything else, when do you get off the field? Because if you're not getting off the field, your defense is getting more tired and so on. Now, there are fans out there that will say, well, we've got a lot of injuries. We're playing a lot of young people. And that's next man up theory. Next man up. It's good. I'm glad to see some of the younger players in there, and they're getting valuable reps. Okay. But that is the next man theory. Everybody has injuries. And if we want to make excuses about injuries, and we want to make excuses about officiating, which is another thing people have been yelling about. Listen, let me say this to everybody out there. And I have said it in our Twitter account, is if there's a problem with officiating, Mike Norvell has a process to go through and give his sense of what the officiating was.
Fuller's passive-aggressive defense. I would agree. That's a good comment there because
passive-aggressive. What does that mean?
It's just a play on words there. But I would agree. Like I've started to. I think he does try to bring pressure at times because he knows the defensive line does struggle with it.
Well, he has to. KB. He has to bring pressure if they're not producing it from four players up front. Every defensive coach first wants to see, can I bring pressure with the four guys up front?
Yeah, but I don't think
if that's not working in the first quarter, then he has to start doing something
sacks
else.
Sometimes are a vanity metric too. Like sacks don't always tell the whole story of how well your defense is playing.
You're right.
Because Florida State is fourth in sacks, but I don't think our defensive line.
I think
because people can run against you all day, but you may have the top sacks in the league, right? Wake Forest we had 3 sacks against Wake Forest, but they were able to run at will.
Time of possession and the quality of possession starts to tell you what's going on defense.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Sacks and interceptions are sometimes vanity metrics, and you need to look more deeper into the game. So that's what I would agree with.
But if you when I looked at some stats, and we don't like to keep throwing those out, I don't, like you say, I don't put a lot of gold in those, is that on offense, all our rankings are in the top 50, okay, of FBS schools. We're in the top 50. Okay, of all FBS of the 4 categories I looked at: rushing, third down conversion, passing yards, and total points scored. Now, on defense, we're in 2. One is passing yards allowed. We're only giving up 179 yards here, so that looks like a strength. And the total points allowed. Okay, we're ranked 41st. But on rushing defense overall, 78th. And third downs, I already said we're ranked 71st.
Oh yeah, we're getting it.
To be a competitive team in the ACC. We're not talking about anywhere else. Yeah. We're going to have to improve on those numbers.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why I think honestly this, like I keep saying, this weekend's going to be a defensive matchup. NC State in all major categories is top 3 ACC on what it's pass defense, rushing defense. Just defense efficiency. They have a very solid defense,
yes, they do.
Line. I don't think you don't have all-star caliber, Derwin James in every position, but you have a very solid team that's going to try to shut you down, whether it be on the running game. But that's why I think honestly, and once again, it's NC State's not a team that gets a ton of sacks, but they just have a solid defense that gets you off the field on third down. They limit the amount of first downs and they get you off the field. They're not sacking you a ton, but they're not allowing you to throw for a big play. They're not allowing you to throw for a first down or run for a first down. They just get you off the field. They're last in the ACC. I'm sorry. They're like fifth in the ACC in sacks against, and sacks by. But I think the biggest deal,
and they're ranked to underline your point. They're ranked 22nd in terms of third down percentage held. So they're getting off the field.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the biggest thing. But and I just forgot my point with them. But I think, like I said, what Clemson did is what I think Florida State is going to. Jordan Travis is going to have to run. He's going to have to use his legs as the missing element. And that's what DJ did last week. Is he sparked their offense by running the ball, and it helped out with opening up the passing game. Helped the other running backs because they had to account for him as a player. No team is really accounting for. I mean, they still probably have to game plan around.
Are you talking about running on designed quarterback runs? Both that and when he sees nobody's open. I think
improving. I really think improving. I think the design runs aren't working for him because it's making him think too much. And I think he needs to improv some of these plays more, or audible out to them, because that's what worked for. That's what's opening the game up for Clemson. That's what got their offense going, and that's what really is going to break down a team like NC State, because that's something you can't really defend for. You can't game plan for. And then if he gets a big player or two, then they're gonna have to adjust their defense on the fly and start spying for him, and that's gonna put another defender on the box that isn't accounted for. And then you open up Johnny Wilson or Micah Pittman. And he has under 100 yards rushing on the season.
Yeah.
Like, who would have thought we'd be almost we're 5 games into the season and he has less than 100 yards rushing. It's going to have to come out if you want to win this game.
Well, some of that, he's had this leg injury, but he did not have a knee brace on Wednesday. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm hoping that, to the point that we need to, hopefully we see Jordan expressing now with that knee brace out. Hopefully we can see some of that expression, artistic expression.
I think it's going to be a natural adrenaline that if he sees, hey, I can throw the ball and maybe it gets caught, or there's 8 yards here or 10 yards here, I can get it with my feet. I bet he does it. He's going to get back to what he does naturally. But he's a good pocket passer. If I see it, I'm going to hit it. Otherwise, I'm going to break out and I'm going to run.
It's a missing.
I think that's going to be one of the keys to the game, how successful he is with his legs, because this is going to be a close game.
Yeah, to me, he has to have 50 rushing yards or more for them to win this game, and it can't be in the fourth quarter. It needs to be part of the game plan. So
it needs to be part of the game plan. That's right. Now let me add this. Let me add this point. I've been on it for the last 2 weeks, so I might as well stay on it. And that is the kicking game. All right. Right now, in practice, Coach Norvell said, Ryan's my guy. Everybody's going to be evaluated, though. But Ryan right now, out of 104 positions being ranked by the FBS, Ryan is 102nd. Okay. He's 2 from the bottom. Now he's 4 of 9 at 44%. So the question, at some point, this dog seems like it's going to bite you, and
it hasn't already.
And it has changed some of the strategy of at what point does Mike feel confident to put him in to kick field goal. These specific questions are not being asked. Okay. They're just not being asked. So there was one question the whole week about kicking, and it was a convoluted answer. That's my opinion. Besides saying Ryan's my guy.
We're in the bottom 3 for point afters and for field goals.
Yeah, not anybody asked, well, how's your walk-on other kicker? How's he doing? Does he do anything? No, nobody. There are no specifics. Is my point.
Hey, but like you keep bringing up, we're great at kickoffs. We're first for kickoffs. So.
I will give Ryan on the kickoffs. He is doing that. He is doing that. It's part of the game.
Everyone gets a trophy. Everyone gets a trophy.
Okay, he's part of No, I'm going to give people credit where credit is due, including yourself.
Everyone gets a trophy.
Sometimes you need a lot of credit.
Everyone gets a trophy. All right.
Okay.
Well, before we give our predictions and for the score of the game and do a little bit of other ACC breakdowns, we're going to bring in a special guest for tonight to give a little weather update.
You're breaking up. You're freezing.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm lagging out.
You better get some better comms there, buddy.
Better there. All right, so we're gonna bring a special guest, a special fan of the show, to give their guest picks and also give us a little weather update. So,
all right, what about my weather updates? My weather updates aren't good enough, so we got to go to someone else. Okay, KD, working behind my back. Okay,
well,
so
Jody,
not as good as looking as I am.
That's disgusting. Jody, very nice to meet us. How are you doing tonight?
Hello. Joining in from stormy Massachusetts right now.
Woo!
So we hear some thundering and lightning. We're having a huge storm right now for our weather.
Well, we appreciate you being a part of the show. We know all our fans have busy lives and they have a ton of other things that are probably going on. So we appreciate you being a part of tonight's program. And like I said before, giving us a breakdown of the weather forecast, because this is a new segment we're doing on the show. So I'm going to bring up your graphic here real quick.
Well, let me say this too. This is Jody is one of our loyal supporters, and she's a follower on Twitter and follower here on our YouTube show, and that's what we want to do. And she's got the Florida State soccer national championship. Okay,
there we go. We'll
have
to.
We got a great soccer team here too.
Yeah. All right, so let me go ahead and bring up.
Well, thanks for allowing me to come on and join you guys tonight.
And Jody, where did you go to school?
I went to Virginia Tech.
Oh, honky.
No, I was supposed to go into Florida State. I did end up at Virginia Tech.
Oh, wow.
Well, they're garbage anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Luckily, they don't play each other this year.
Yeah, that's right. Well, they're rebuilding too. They're on their own climb somewhere.
Yeah, a big one.
Yes, very, very true.
All right, let's turn it over to Jody.
As we know, we always hear week after week that weather is such a factor in these football games, right, old man Bruce?
Yeah, that's true. That's my job.
He says that.
Yeah.
So anyway, here's your game day forecast for Raleigh, North Carolina. It's going to be great fall weather. Now, Floridians, they may want to break into their bins of winter clothes and grab some sweaters but it's going to be great fall weather. Starting in the afternoon, it's going to be around 67 degrees, which is beautiful. A beautiful day for those pre-game activities, fun, tailgating. And then leading up to the kickoff at 8 p.m., it will get chillier. Temps will be around 51 degrees.
Oh.
With winds at 5 miles per hour, humidity at 76%, and a chance of rain is 5%. So we don't have to worry about rain. But for the fans out there, you need to bring your sweaters or jackets, especially if you're coming from Florida, because I see right now in Florida, it's high 80s. So it's going to be quite a difference. Here today. Quite a difference in Raleigh come this weekend. And then it will be a low of 46, but it shouldn't get to be that cold by the end of the game. But looking around, probably start of the game time, around 50 degrees.
So for football players, it's great weather.
It's great weather. It's a great fall day, great, beautiful football day. So there should be no problems playing. It's going to be clear, partly sunny.
No cramping.
So there should be nothing holding this game up.
I like to hear that.
So good tailgating weather, huh? Get the barbecues out, get the chicken, the ribs on there, the corn.
Exactly. So it's a beautiful, beautiful fall day. You can't ask for better weather.
You cannot.
Great.
You cannot.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that, Jody.
About the weather causing a loss.
No, that excuse will be across the board.
Okay, so weather's not going to be an excuse.
Weather is not going to be a factor.
Wow.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. And while we have you, like I said, we do have our prediction board ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and flip over to that so we can get your score predictions here while we have you. So let me go ahead and pull that up real quick. And we'll proceed on to 3 games that we're going to look at here. So, and I had to include the Hokies because you had mentioned that you were a Hokie alumni. So I had to get your opinion on this before we or get them in here for this, of course. So let's start off. Bruce, Pitt versus Virginia Tech this weekend. Pittsburgh, decent team. A loss last week. A tough loss last week. Starting to struggle a little bit. Virginia Tech has been struggling the entire year. 2-3, Virginia Tech at Pittsburgh. Who are you taking this matchup?
Wow. Both teams kind of struggling. It's kind of hard to know. I think they're both trying to find their identity. I think they're that is a tough one, especially when there's no spread on points here. And where is it? Is it on the road?
Pittsburgh. It's in Pittsburgh.
Oh, it's in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Being in Pittsburgh, it's the weather's not going to be an issue. Both teams play in the cold weather. That's not going to be an issue. I'm going to go with Pitt at home.
I'm going to go Pitt at home. Jody, who are you picking for this matchup?
That's a hard one. Listening to you guys sometimes too, you never want to go against your own team. You always want to be that cheerleader no matter what. But I think
that can be a loser or what too.
Yeah.
But when you bet against your team and they win, it feels so good.
Yeah.
Well, true. I mean, if it was home, I think I would say 100% Virginia Tech. But being that it is a away game and we are rebuilding, I'm going to have to say Pitt.
A lot of excuses there, but okay, we'll go with Pitt.
Hey, and we have to ask. Everybody always asks, "What the hell is a gobbler?"
What is that on TV?
Okay. Yeah, this is a clean show.
For the record, I'm going with Pitt as well. The spread is 14.5 points. Pitt at home.
You didn't tell us that up front.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll let you redo it. I mean,
okay. Well,
I was asking straight up.
Points.
I wasn't asking point spread, but we'll go with point. If you want to go point spread, 15.5, would you still take them?
I'm going to still take Pitt. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't care about the points really.
Yeah.
All right. Then we move on to the second kind of closest matchup this weekend, North Carolina at Miami. So Miami should have about 500 people in their stadium for this weekend's matchup.
It's horrible.
UNC is 4-1 off of that close matchup at Appalachian State to start the season. They've kind of caught on a little bit here,
and they have not one of the top passers in the country.
Yeah, he's
right now.
Luke
May.
I forget his first name, but yeah, he's playing really well.
Guys,
they haven't really played anyone since earlier in the season. They did beat Virginia Tech 41-10 last week. Sorry, Jody, once again.
That was a rough one.
But they go on the road against Miami. They are 3.5. It's Miami 3.5 points is the spread right now. Bruce, who are you taking?
Yeah, I think Mario Cristobal is getting a lot of hate mail. This is a big game for them at home. I think North Carolina is the better team, and I think they're going to beat Miami at Miami's home there. I will just take, I don't care about the points. I'm just going to go ahead. I'm not betting points on any of these fans. Let me make sure. I'm going to take head to head. I'm going to take the Tar Heels over Miami. I think they're a better team offensively. I think they're going to put up points.
All right. So even without the points, you are taking UNC head to head.
I'm not betting any of these on points.
Okay. No, nothing on points.
Let's do it without points. Yeah.
All right, Tom, thank you for the compliment for our weather woman. We appreciate that. And
this guy. Who's this guy? Shannon?
I don't know. New subscriber.
All of a sudden, my job's in jeopardy. I feel like Lee Corsel. I feel like Lee. Yeah, first Lee was there for 3 hours. Now he's here for like 3 minutes. And he has had some health problems, so we want to get Lee back.
Lee needs to go.
And then Shannon, go away.
On the Dongby picks UNC. Jody, who are you going with? UNC or Miami?
On this one, I think I'm gonna go with
Hey, it's a short show, Jody. Let's speed it up.
I'm gonna pick Miami.
Miami? All right. Any particular reason? We don't like Miami picks on this show, but any particular reason why?
She likes South Beach.
No. I just think they're going to pull it out strong. I think UNC had a strong showing last weekend, and I think they're going to come in big headed, and I think that's gonna defeat them. So I think Miami's going to pull it out.
I think it's a coin flip game. Pretty much what the spread says. I do think that talent-wise, UNC has the better quarterback, and I just think that they have better chemistry going into this game. I honestly think it go both ways, but I'm going to pick UNC just because I want them to win, and I just hope they win this game because it'll just further put Miami into a tailspin for the season. So go UNC.
But it puts more pressure on us to beat them.
No, we need to beat them. That's not. There's no other way about that. Then we go to the big matchup this weekend, prime time, with NC State in Raleigh. As you guys saw, the weather's going to be perfect for this fall matchup.
Yep.
Bruce, who are you picking? I think we know if people they'll pick it because we did our predictions earlier in the season.
I'll just tell you what my prediction was. My prediction was, I'll just be quick about it. This game being on the road, I think we're trying to fix a lot of things right now. Hopefully we'll get them clean up and we'll win the game, but I'm picking NC State. I'm picking NC State. I'm going to hear it. I'm going to hear it from our fans.
You don't have the big dog head in the background you're going to put on?
I got to get the ceramic Wolfpack head. Yeah.
But I do want to see the champion glasses.
I hope to wear those Saturday night after the game.
You gotta win the game.
I gotta win the game to put the champion glasses on, man.
Jody, who are you picking?
So for my pick, with them both coming in with losses and it being home at NC State, I think NC State's going to pull it out with their fans behind them.
Wow.
We got to get rid of this weather person.
All right. And yeah, so and just for anyone's knowing, it is NC State minus 3 points at home on Saturday this weekend, ACC Network. I am, my original prediction was for Florida State to lose these next 3 games. So far, I'm right. And I don't want this to happen. That's why I said it's easier to bet against your team because when they win, it feels so much better. But I haven't seen anything so far that's changed my mind. Last week, kind of what I thought would happen happened. And I think at this point, we are still so banged up. We do have some guys coming back. But last week showed me
short show, KB.
I'm just trying to explain my decision making here. But I'm going to have to go with my original prediction. I'm going NC State this weekend.
Wow.
Sad as it is
this is not. We just lost about half of our 5 followers already. That takes us down to 2.5 followers.
I do hope Florida State and Virginia Tech pull out the win. But if I had to bet right now, that's what I'm saying. But I love Florida State and I love Virginia Tech.
Yeah, we're giving. Oh, we got some NC State fans in here.
Oh,
here
go
we
into
go.
Shannon. That's the guy that put me down.
Ban
Get rid of him.
Ban him. No, and like you said, we want to be honest here. We want to give live feedback, like real feedback. And like you said, we're not here just to say Florida State's great. We tell them when they, we say it like it is.
No sugar.
When they're bad.
No sugar with the coffee here, brother.
Yeah. So, and like I said, last week didn't give me any more confidence to change my pick that I predicted at the beginning of the season. And so,
listen, we all want Florida. I think all 3 of us want Florida State to win the game. Yeah. I'd rather be wrong. I want to be totally wrong. We're on here because we're Florida State fans. I'm probably the oldest Florida State fan you can find anywhere on the
oldest one still alive. Absolutely. We found him. That's why he's on the show.
Yeah, that's me.
living artifact.
Yeah, that's right. And we all want Florida State to win. That's really what we want to happen. But, we're going to tell it like it is.
Yeah. So those are the predictions for this weekend. And, we have some more comments. Put your comments in the chat of who your predictions are. Rob Potter in the chat goes, VT and Florida State are going to win this weekend. We'll see if that happens, Rob. Thanks for chatting in with us.
Keep following, Rob. You may be the next weather person here. You, Shannon, Dagby, and all of you are in the drawing because KB's trying to get me the hell out of the weather thing.
I'm always looking for Herbie's backup or a little Lee's backup. So, but put your predictions in the chat. We appreciate it. But I think that's really going to do it for tonight. Any other thoughts or comments before we wrap things up here, Bruce or Jody?
Jody, you got any other thoughts?
No, thanks for having me. Go Florida State. And I do hope they pull it out.
Thanks, Jody. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us tonight.
Bye.
Take care.
Thanks for bye-bye. Okay, my only thoughts are this. there's one loss, and like some people are saying, okay, a Dangby has Florida State, UNC, and Pitt. Yeah,
I can see
could
that.
be.
Like I said, all
Could
these
be.
games are going to be toss-ups. I do think this weekend is going to be a toss-up. Like I said, I could go on and on about why both teams could win this game, but
Yeah.
I just like I said, I just didn't see enough last week that can prove to me that Florida State is on the road going to beat NC State. But to our subscribers and our followers' points in the chat, NC State also hasn't looked dominant at all either.
No,
Wake Forest looked like Wake Forest has looked very good this season. They played like it on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I don't think NC State's played to that caliber. Now, they have the potential to. They definitely have potential to play a lot better than they have. And
they played one good team, and that's Clemson.
And they lost to them. Yeah. And they lost. And they got dominated for most of that game. So, I would agree that this game should be tight. We should be.
It's a winnable game. Yeah. It's a winnable game on the road, and that's why the point spread is so small.
But if you don't clean up,
it's a toss-up game. They're going to give the home team 3 points.
But you can't go on the road and commit 11 penalties like
and
you did
turn
last
the ball
week
over.
And turn the ball over. You cannot win that way.
Yeah.
I don't care who you're playing. If you play Jacksonville State or you play NC State, you're going to lose that game 9 out of 10 times.
Right. So. Now, here's the good news. The good news is this. Every game on this schedule, except maybe Clemson, okay? And they're not totally out of sight, is a winnable game, for this team. But our team, our Noles, don't have any room for error. There's no room for error. And here's the good news. But here's the bad news. We play in the worst division, which is still a division, the Atlantic Division. Okay, that's the strongest teams in this ACC right now. They're all in the Atlantic.
Yeah, whoever loses this weekend is essentially eliminated from
Clemson is first. They're ranked first in the Atlantic. Syracuse is second. NC State is fifth. All right. Now, if we beat NC State, we have a chance to climb up there, but we still got to play Clemson and Syracuse. So if we beat all 3 of these teams, we still have a shot. We haven't been mathematically eliminated.
You are if you win this weekend. But yeah, if you win this weekend, you're right in it. You're right in it. So you hold your own destiny, as they say. You control your destiny in this regard. Absolutely. But we're going to learn more about our football team. Yeah.
But we can't use injuries, officiating as excuses.
No,
we can't do it.
No, if
you got to. There are teams that are starting. When we played LSU, they started 2 freshmen on the offensive line, I think it was.
Yeah.
And they learned about those guys. Then they reshuffled. Yeah. So a football coach plays the best available people.
And that's why as a recruiting tool, you have to pitch. We need depth. We need talented depth because guys are going to get knocked out all across this team. And that's why we want to put there's early playing time all across this team. Every position has early playing time outside of quarterback. Well, even with quarterback, you saw who had to come in. So, this is really these 3 games, as we keep saying, it's the litmus test of how good this team is and how good they'll be this season. How they perform, the Wake Forest, Clemson, and NC State this weekend is how good this team will be and probably close out the season, no matter what injuries, because we're playing through injuries now. This is who they're going to be for the most part. So we'll find out this weekend. So once again, we're both predicting, unfortunately, a loss, but a tight game.
I hope we're wrong.
I hope
we're wrong.
I absolutely would love to come on Saturday night and be wrong when we talk about this game, a live reaction. So as a reminder for that.
And we'll eat it. If we are. And I hope we have to eat it.
I love to eat that sandwich. So let's go ahead and reminder, like the video, subscribe.
Yeah, please.
Follow so that you'll get notifications about the live reaction on Saturday night, right after the show. One or both of us will be on to give a live commentary on what happened, what went wrong, what went right. No matter win or loss, we'll be there to give you a quick breakdown of unfiltered commentary of the game and what we thought happened right before our eyes. So join us for that.
If you'd like to be, and if you're one of our followers, you'd like to be our game day weather reporter, let us know. Send us a DM on our Twitter. And what's that? What's this guy?
No, I will not be in Raleigh this weekend. I will not be in Raleigh this weekend live broadcasting.
No, I won't. No, I won't either. I'll be in Tampa here.
He doesn't leave his house. So no, I'll be down in Raleigh live broadcasting in a couple of weeks though. So stay tuned for that. A little announcement. So But yeah, go ahead. Please
Okay.
like the channel, subscribe on Podcast Network if you prefer the audio version, so you can listen to it on your road to work or wherever you're going this weekend. But we appreciate your support, your follows, your Twitter interactions, your likes. It really helps a lot and helps us keep us motivated to do these shows. So thanks again, everyone. Any final words, Bruce?
No, the climb continues, and we hope to get another rung, even though we predicted we won't. We hope the arrow goes up.
Awesome. Well, thank you all again for the time. We'll see you on Saturday, and have a safe rest of your week, and go Noles.